Hey everyone, I'm Logan. I'm so glad you're watching church today. We're talking about the life of one of my favorite guys in the Bible, Moses. He's someone who trusted God and talked to him throughout his whole life, even when it seemed like everything was going wrong. But you know what? Even Moses had moments when he felt scared or uncertain of God's plan. That reminds me of our Bible verse, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline." That verse says that when God is with us and we have him in our hearts, he will give us his spirit to help us be strong and brave and do the good things that he has planned for us, even when it feels like things are going wrong. Let's stand up and sing that song together right now. I love that song. I don't know about you, but there are some days when it seems like everything is going wrong in my life. Like one thing after another. And I think that Moses could relate too. Whenever he tackled one problem, another one seemed to pop up. We learned that Pharaoh wanted Moses killed, but God protected him. Then Moses made a big mistake and ran away from home, but God sent people to help him. Then Moses wasn't sure he was good enough for the job that God asked him to do, but God was with him. And now, well, let's watch this week's Bible story to see the next problem that Moses faced. Check it out.
Stories of the Bible. Moses and the Exodus. This is Moses, who was an Israelite born in Egypt in a time when Israelite boys were not supposed to live.
Wait, huh?
Moses, however, grew up in the palace of the Pharaoh, the very man who was enslaving the Israelite people. When Moses grew up, he made a big mistake.
Uh-oh.
So Moses ran away from Egypt to the land of Midian. After many years, an angel of the Lord appeared to Moses and told him to go back to Egypt to free the Israelites. After much protesting, God granted Moses his brother Aaron to speak on his behalf. So Moses went to Egypt. And on his way there, he met Aaron, who was ready to do whatever God wanted him to do. The Israelites were slaves to the Egyptians, but God had a special plan for Moses.
Hey, everyone up.
After rallying God's people to them, Moses and Aaron went to the Pharaoh. And said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, has said. Let my people go." And Pharaoh made the Israelites work harder because of this.
Huh?
The foremen of the Israelite slaves were angry with Moses and Aaron for causing this trouble. So Moses cried out to God and asked why this was happening. But God said, "You will see what I will do. I am the Lord. I will deliver you from slavery."
Wow, okay. Hey!
Moses told this to the people,
Hey!
but they were so discouraged that they didn't listen to him. God told Moses to go to Pharaoh and to do exactly as he said. So Moses and Aaron went to the Pharaoh.
Hey!
God told them to take the staff and throw it down before Pharaoh.
Huh?
Pharaoh was not impressed. He called his wise men and sorcerers, and they did the same thing. But Aaron's staff swallowed up the sorcerer's staff. Yet Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he would not listen to them.
Shoot!
Just as God had said. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to the banks of the Nile River and meet Pharaoh."
Hey, Pharaoh!
Moses and Aaron did just as God had said. But again, Pharaoh's magicians did the same miracle, and Pharaoh refused to let God's people go. So God sent 9 more plagues to Egypt to show his power. Even with all the suffering, Pharaoh's heart stayed hard, and he would not let the people go. On the night of the last plague, Pharaoh woke up and heard a great cry in Egypt. For there was not a house in Egypt where someone was not dead. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and told him to be gone with the Israelites. So the Israelites left Egypt immediately and made their way to the Promised Land, taking with them many riches from Egypt, and they took Joseph's bones as they had promised him many years before. But after they had gone, Pharaoh changed his mind and readied his army to take back the Israelites. When the Israelites saw Pharaoh and his armies come, they were terrified. But God made a way for them. Through all of this, the Israelites saw the great power of their God, the one true God, and they put their trust in Moses, his servant.
Wow. God told Moses to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let the people go. But Pharaoh said no again and again. Even with each of these plagues, Pharaoh's heart grew harder. But I love that each and every time, God was guiding Moses and telling him what to do. Moses was never alone, even when it felt like everything was going wrong. Now, speaking of things going wrong, I think it's time to check out some more fail videos. It's time for Rewind.
What's up, everybody? My name is Caroline, and this is Rewind. Rewind is a show where we compile the most awesomest videos that YouTube has to offer and show them to you, our loyal viewers. Is awesomest even a word? Well, now it is. Let's get started. This week, we've got more more fails for your viewing pleasure. But this time, there's a twist. I'm gonna start to watch each video, but before it can finish, I'm gonna try and guess what happens next. Fortunately for me, all the answers are multiple choice. Sound simple enough? Perfect. Let's get this show on the road. Pause. Okay, let's review the options of what we think is going to happen next. The options are A, belly flop, B, flying cartwheel, or C, back-breaking backflip. All right, judging based off of how he's gonna fly off of this thing, I'm thinking it's gonna be C, back-breaking backflip. But let's see what happens next. Oh, nice. Oh my gosh, did you see that? Look at this replay. Oh, he totally looks like a gingerbread man. Looks like I was wrong too. The correct answer was B, the flying cartwheel. I need to step up my guessing game. All right, video number 2, please.
Here comes the motivator.
Okay, pause. So let's review the options of what we think is gonna happen next. The options are A, makes it halfway and then face plants, B, makes it all the way, or C, misses the first jump completely. Looking at the size of this motivator, as they call it, I'm gonna have to go with C and think that she's gonna miss the first jump completely. So let's see what happens. My gosh, that had to hurt. Yes, I got it right. I mean, oh, that really must have hurt. I feel good and bad at the same time. All right, next video, video number 3.
Look good.
Okay, pause. Okay, let's review the options of what we think is gonna happen next. The options are A, front flip face plant, B, smacked upside the head, or C, eaten by sharks. Based off of how she started off, I'm gonna guess A and think that she's gonna do a front flip face plant because that would be so cool. Okay, let's see what happens next. Ooh, how did she even do that front flip? I don't even know if that was on purpose, but that was so cool. 10 out of 10. Okay, next video. Video number 4. Okay, pause. So there's 3 doors. Interesting. Let's review the options of what we think is gonna happen next. A, fall through a trap door. B, hit by a battering ram. Or C, slips on a banana peel. Based off of how she's going to door number 2, I'm thinking that it's gonna have to be A and she'll fall through a trap door. Obviously. So let's see what actually happens next. Oh, that had to hurt. There's no way she saw that coming. That is gonna leave a mark. Shoot, I got another one wrong. So let's see if I can redeem myself with the next video. Video number 5.
The Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, the Grand Canyon.
Okay, pause. All right, so what do we think is gonna happen next? A, ball dropped on her head. B, hit by the wall. Or C, trips on a shoelace. All right, I don't know how, but I think she's gonna get hit by a wall, so I'm gonna have to go with B.
And now,
That had to hurt. Oh, you too? Oh my gosh, no one is seeing this coming. Oh, yeah, there you go, every single time. Yeah, that was pretty bad, but hey, I got it right. You know, things were going wrong for most of these game show contestants. Getting hit in the face, doing mid-air cartwheels, or falling face first into a lake of mud. Yeah, sometimes stuff doesn't always go our way, and no one knew that better than Moses. Moses and his brother Aaron went to Pharaoh's palace and shared God's message with the leader of Egypt. Let my people go. But Pharaoh just made the Israelite slaves work even harder. Moses had traveled a long way to deliver God's message, and it took a lot of courage for him to confront Pharaoh. But things didn't go like Moses thought they would. Moses cried out to God asking what he should do. God told Moses and Aaron to show Pharaoh God's power. They went to the palace, and before everyone, Aaron turned his walking staff into a snake. Pharaoh said this was nothing, and he had his sorcerers do the same thing. So God sent 10 plagues on Egypt. They were all scary reflections of God's immense power. But after every single plague, Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. God sent an angel throughout all of Egypt. The next morning, Pharaoh and all the other Egyptians woke to find that someone had died in every single house except for where the Israelites lived. Finally, Pharaoh gave up. He understood that God was far more powerful and that by refusing to obey God's command, he had brought this suffering upon his people. After 10 plagues, Pharaoh finally let God's people go. Sometimes life doesn't go quite how we think it will. When things don't go as planned, it can leave you feeling confused and frustrated. But the good news is we can always talk to God about our feelings through prayer. The Israelites couldn't understand why they were enslaved by the Egyptians. They were God's chosen people, and Moses couldn't understand why Pharaoh wouldn't let them go. But God had a greater plan in mind than they could understand. This is often true of our lives. We have a certain idea of how our lives should be, but even if that idea lines up with what the Bible teaches, it doesn't mean that it will happen exactly like we think it will. When things don't go as planned, it can be discouraging and confusing. But the good news is we can always go to God with our discouragement and confusion. It is better to be like Moses and go to God with our pain and confusion than to be like Pharaoh and harden our hearts. And this goes for any time life gets hard. God loves to hear from us. We are His children and He loves us. Ultimately, we should trust God's plan for our lives. But that doesn't mean we can't ask Him questions along the way. So if you're having a hard time this week, go to God in prayer. Your difficulties might not go away immediately, but God will help you deal with them. Prayer is a wonderful gift, and we should use it as much as we can. It is always available to us. Even if things don't go as planned, God will always hear our prayers, no matter what. All right, guys, we're just about done here. We'll catch you back here next week for another episode of Rewind.
Wow, those were some serious fails. I can't help but cringe watching those videos. Those poor contestants just can't catch a break. With every video, it seems like things got worse and worse. And I'm sure Moses was feeling something similar, that things seemed to just keep getting worse for him. But he never stopped talking to God and letting God guide him. Moses did what God said to do and continued trusting God's plan until Pharaoh finally agreed to let his people go. That reminds me of our big idea for today. When things are going wrong, I can talk to God. Even when we keep hearing no or we feel like nothing is going right, God is always working. He has a plan and He will guide us along the way, just like He did with Moses. We can talk to God just like Moses did too. When we pray to God like He is a close friend, He can show us that He is with us. Well, friends, it has been a great day hanging out and learning about Moses with you. I just love Moses' story because it reminds me that God is with me too, just like He was for Moses. And remember, when things feel like they're going wrong, you can talk to God. Even though we don't see God in Moses' story, we hear His voice because He and Moses are always talking to each other. I love that. Spend some time this week talking to God. And hey, we would love to see you in person too, so check out our campus locations and find a Saddleback Kids near you. Don't forget, we have some awesome activity sheets, coloring pages, and even some stuff for your parents online at saddlebackkids.com. Check it out, and we'll see you here next week to learn what happened next in Moses' life. See you later.